Hi there and welcome back to Thrive with Mulunji, where conversations bloom. And in today's edition, I'm very excited because we love to talk about representation. We love to talk about being inclusive, but also, you know, that on this podcast, we listen to women, how they are navigating womanhood in their way and whatever impact that they have on society. And today is no different. I am so excited to finally have Maxensia Takirambule with me, and I cannot wait for you to get to hear about her story. I met Maxensia about a year or so ago at a feminist gathering, and I listened to her share her story and I was amazed. And I remember we had a brief conversation and I told her, my audience needs to hear your story. And of course we planned, and as they usually say, God laughs, but I'm so excited that today she is here with us, and we're going to get to know her a bit better, part of her work. And without saying any much further thing, Maxensia, welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for making time.
Oh, I had to, because we have kept this promise for a long time.
Yes, we really
So I finally came. Thank you for hosting me.
Thank you for being here. Now, when I was trying to summarize what Maxensia Takirambule does, she has a middle name that I think, please just tell us all your name, the full name, because as like, it's not me that's going to murder this name today.
I know my names are very complicated, and if I told you to write one of them, I failed to write the real name.
Yeah.
So my name is Maxensia Takirambule is my maiden name, and Takirambule is my marital name. Oh yes. So I'm happy to be here.
I'm also so happy to have you with us. So in case you're wondering now, who is Maxensia Mulunji? Just to give you a brief background of what this amazing lady does. She is the founder and executive director of Lungujja Community Health Caring Organization. And she does a lot of work as far as working together with the government of Uganda to offer treatment and care and support, especially to people that are living with HIV and AIDS. And of course, this was an organization she founded in 2005, and she's still going. We'll find out why that is very dear to her later on. And of course, she also has done some work, especially when it comes to legal support to women, children, vulnerable people, to make sure that they access legal redress. And she also helps to teach young mothers, young women and youth, especially those that didn't get the chance to go to school, about justice, how to read and write, life skills generally, because we know that you can't survive in this world without education, but there is something a little extra that education gives to you. And as you can see, Maxensia here, she also is the HIV focal person, Kampala Archdiocese here in Uganda, and she also is the director for children, youth, and people with disabilities in Buganda Kingdom. Maxensia also happens to be the vice chairperson, Home-Based Care Alliance in Uganda, and I could go on and on and on. But before we even get into the very, very deep stuff, Maxensia, before Maxensia, the HIV advocate, the gender-based violence coalition member, take us back to young Maxensia. What was it like for you growing up? What kind of child were you?
Wow. Our viewers, I'm happy to be here speaking to you about my journey. I've spoken in different spaces, but I've never gotten tired of speaking to people, because I know when I speak, I share my experience. Somewhere, somehow, it can touch someone, it can help someone to get up and say, I can do it. I am Maxensia Takirambule once again. Takirambule is my marital name, though Mr. Takirambule left us about 28 years now. Born of Salong and Nalongo. They are now deceased, both deceased. I was born in Butende. Butende is in Masaka, and Nyendo Mukongo is my constituency. So the previous law, Honorable Mpoga was my MP, and today it is Sabina. I was born into this family of 13 children. And when you ask me how it was to me as a last born, wow, I never even thought of doing hard work like I'm doing now.
Yeah.
Even my siblings would wonder if I could grow up and be some person who is very busy, someone who is tough, because of the love
that I
I
was
got.
surrounded by.
As a last born, everybody was thinking about Maxensia. When my brothers go to Kampala to work, they would bring gifts to Maxensia. Everybody was talking about Maxensia.
Yeah.
And to some extent, my siblings that I grew up with could get so jealous. Why her? And when I get sick, my mother could put me in her bed, come and sleep here. And like when you get up to eat, and then they're like, she has come again. Go and sleep. You said you're sick. So sometimes I could pretend I don't want to eat and stay in bed. And I could see mother, because we had cows, we had almost everything. And then I could see her bringing groundnuts, some matter, asking me whether I could have a sip or I want to take. And I would say, okay, I can try.
Yeah.
Just because my siblings, my bigger sisters were almost, harassing me and saying, why you? So I could stay there, and then my mother could take care of me. So life was quite good. I could feel it.
I can imagine.
Because my father was a member of LUCOHECO.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
That's a very big deal.
Well, I could say.
Yeah.
And these are the people who worked with the late Kabaka Mutesa in Bulange Mego. Even when you come to our home today, just along the road, when you get out of a taxi and ask a Wobobaka, everybody will tell you, everybody will direct you, though. It was long ago in the 60s. So
yes.
In this home where there is peace, where there is almost everything. But as I grew up in the 70s, things turned. Because my father was now jobless. He had a coffee factory, which was taken by the Obote regime. There was not enough income. As a last born, now I started to experience life. Getting to school was not easy. The school fees was not easy to get. So there was a lot of hustle as I got to primary 6, primary 7. So things got tough. But my mother was a very hardworking woman.
I can imagine.
So I remember she's gotten into selling matoke so that I could get school fees. Because there was a very big gap between myself and the siblings that I follow.
Yeah.
Until 1980, when I started my primary 7, I was supposed to go to Nabisonsa.
Oh.
Because I got very good marks.
Yes.
First grade. But now, like I said, money was not enough in the family. My father and mother could not take care of my school fees, so my brother could. So I instead went to Old Kampala Senior Secondary School and did my senior 4 there between 1981 to 84. And one would wonder, now, when were you born? I was born in 1966. I'm 60 years, plus a few months now.
Yes.
So I'm very proud of that. So this is how I ended up coming to Kampala, studied. But you can just imagine how God does his things. After senior 4, I very much wanted to go and pursue my studies at HSC. And my brother would say, but I think you do a course. I did not know the plan ahead, but God had a plan for me to do a course. So I went to Nakasero College of Business Studies. I did secretarial work. We are some of those people who used to type very fast, 45 words per minute.
Yes.
Then using those typewriters. Then 2 years later, I thought I should pursue another course because I was doing accounts quite well, even in secondary school. So I pursued a diploma in accounting at Association of Professional Accountants. And at the time we completed in 1988, computers were introduced. And at school they told us, please do computers. And we're graduating. I said, I can't stand another year in this school. I want to work. But getting to look for a job after my graduation, there was a requirement of knowledge of a computer.
Yes.
I still had to go back. Cooperative Alliance was one of the schools in Kampala that was teaching us computers. Then I did computer. And today, only that I'm aging, because with computers, I could do anything because of the experience of a typewriter and computer. I can have that speed when I'm typing. And people, when you see me typing, until now, they're like, How did you do it? Because I had an experience of 45 minutes per second on a typewriter. So, I did that. I started getting employment. Different organizations applied to me. Last week I was talking to people. One of my bosses, who I'm looking for now, he loved me so much. He's called Mr. Majabe. At the time I went to work with him, he was called Silas. Then he changed to Islamic, and he was called Muhammad. I'm looking for him. This is a very important person in my life who loved me so much, who cared for his employees so much. At that time, we were working at what you call now Euroform.
Yes.
So that used to be his property. And we had East African Form Limited. But because of some debts that we gotten from PTA Bank, that's how we lost it. So briefly, that is a young Maxensia up to like 28, 24 years, if I would say.
Yes. Yeah. So at what point do you meet your then husband?
Wow. Yes, I met James when I was in senior 2. We were both residents of Mutundwe. I grew up in Mutundwe. And when I got to Mutundwe today, they're all my parents. So my brother who brought me to Kampala, the late Bonaventure, they were friends. And James's grandparents were in that community. So I would go to help them. You can imagine, the social work in me started long time in the 1980s.
Yes.
So I would go to help these old people, fetch water for them, help them. Even during holidays, sometimes I could not go to the village, but I would go to help these old people in this home. They were friends to my late brother, and James was their grandchild, a friend to my brother. So just having those conversations and then meeting at home, and then he could talk to me. We talked to each other, and that was all. Until when a time he talked to my brother, I think, said, "I'll marry your sister." Imagine in senior. So for us girls from the village by that time, even meeting a boy and talking love with him was something very strange that you feel like, I'm still too young to talk about these conversations. It was not something that I could take for granted, but at least for him, he showed interest in becoming my friend. So for him, he was studying from Chisubi, and me, I was this way in Kampala. And as you know, we did not have mobile phones, we did not have, and the phones were in offices, these local phones. So there was not much communication. Maybe the communication was through post office. I am not someone who is fond of writing, a villager like me, but at least James could write letters through the post office and send me. I don't remember how I picked them from post office, but so we started talking to each other until sometime, I think in 1986, when I was at college, that I thought this boy would be my future husband. And this is when we get into serious conversations about love, about having children, and so many things. I was like, I can't get any child. I can't even, not even abort when I'm still in school. I can't even come to your home when I'm still in home until 1989, that we are into serious relationship that we gotten together and we had our firstborn. Imagine that journey from 1982 to 1989. When we were promising each other, okay, maybe we shall see. And then at 89, this is when we got serious and we got our firstborn, Francis. Yes. And unfortunately, this is when my brother, who paid my school fees at O-level and at vocational training, had passed on. So it hit me so hard because he was everything to me in my teenage. This is a person with whom I was staying, with whom I confided, with who was acting as a parent, because at that time my parents were aging.
Yes.
But he passed on before. We had written to him, wanting to meet him as Omoko, at least to introduce ourselves to him, and he was like, no, first write to the parents so they know you are into this relationship. But before we did that, he had passed on. Yeah.
Oh dear. That must have hit really hard.
So hard. I could not believe it. I could not believe it because though education was affordable that time, but money could be so hard to get.
Yes.
I remember at Old Kampala we used to pay 6,000 shillings per year. And Old Kampala is one of the schools that provided almost everything. Scholastic materials, books, but everything to us. But even getting 6,000 was not easy. So I could see my brother struggle. So I wanted at least to give back with a small token or gift to him, which could not happen. But God's plan is always not our plans.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
So speaking of your late husband as well as some of your brothers, when I was trying to do some homework, I learned that in 1998, that's when you learned of the fact that you were now living with HIV and AIDS. And following how, I mean, when you look back from 1998 and now to 2026, one can imagine the stigma, one can imagine the myths, one can imagine, all of this disinformation. And as someone that lost both a husband and some brothers to it too, what made you decide to openly speak about living with a condition like this, especially in a time like that, instead of keeping it to yourself?
True. And I would not have spoken about it at that time because the pain was too much. If I may recall, I had a chance of taking care of my sister, who I was following, and two of my brothers, care for them in the city here. At that time, if I can go back to the 1980s,
yes,
because there was not much information about HIV. There was not much awareness as we have today, and also the stigma is too much. From the health workers that provide the service to the community. And you can just imagine losing 3 of your siblings of things you don't understand. They go to hospital and nobody could tell them this is the problem. It was until when I got into this HIV activism, until when I got it myself, that I thought I said, the symptoms that I saw my brothers and sister carrying were symptoms as a result of HIV. And you can imagine that pain. And one thing I must say, the pain emanates from the time when I lost them, when I lost love, when I lost someone to whom I could call and say, give me 50,000. As a young woman who is getting into marriage, who has gotten children, you would love to have that person who you confide in and say, my brother, could you give me 100,000? There were no more. From there, all of these left children.
Yes.
At the age of 25, I'm sure I had started taking care of children, of my siblings. It wasn't easy. The life was too costly to live in Kampala, but I had to take care of that. So I could see my mother and father with no hope. At one moment, my father was like, now I lost 2 of my sons. I've lost it all. So, of course, men confide in boys. So they had no one to speak to. Yeah. And now thinking of a heir, he could not even make a will. He said, to whom should I assign this? So, seeing this home of 13 children, and you are now 3. Because I had lost 10. Yes, when I was growing up, some of them died. But these others who died during this time when I'm a big girl now, it was a lot of pain.
Must have been.
And my sisters, one of them has high blood pressure, has diabetes, high every time. She could go to hospital, she could not work, she could not take care of herself. So that was a family support that I lost. Getting back to my point, in my home with my 4 children, now I had to add other orphans into this small house where I'm living. It was a burden to provide social services, but also to console them of how their parents died, because they would ask you those questions and you have no answer. So until when I lost my husband, and that was the last hope that I lost. because he had become my brother, he had become everything. I could sit and discuss. He would tell me and guide me as a man, as a brother. Please, for example, when we were preparing for the last funeral of my father,
Yes.
he would guide me. These are the steps you take. And now here we are, we have lost him. But losing him was not one. At that time, when you go to hospital, they give you a result and they say, you are positive. There is nothing threatening in this world like giving you a positive HIV result.
Especially, I can't imagine around that time,
Around
because my memories, 1998, I was about 8 years old. But I remember right from the tablets used to have a rake and a hoe, because I had an auntie that died due to HIV. Even the way they would bury, the people would have lost to HIV, the stigma that the families would face. When you look back then and now, in terms of stigma, in terms of what it was like to be a young mother, and then you look at now, what are some of the stark differences, especially in this fight against HIV, that you could look back and say, okay, have we made some progress, or are we running back to where we were back then?
Of course, there is a lot of progress. I remember I could escort my husband to hospital. And that time, everybody with HIV would lose weight.
Yes.
All the way from Lungujja to Mulago Hospital, with this tiny man who has lost weight and is very small like this, everybody would turn to look at you and wonder and look at you and look at him, and were like, how can she stay here? Why didn't she run away? Why? How? It was like a crime. Having HIV during those years, it was a crime. Because these are people who are promiscuous, these are people who have multiple partners. People would think HIV is basically through sex.
And for sinners.
For sinners. Neither a religious person, nor a cultural leader, nor your parents in the home. This is how they would see it. And culture in Africa, it is seen as if someone who dies is the one who got the infection from the other person.
Oh.
You can imagine the persecution, the stigma, the discrimination young girls received after the passing of their husbands. People would see you as a problem in this family, and they see you as a person who must have caused the problem into their family. But again, there was no information. Everybody who went and tested would see it as suicide. It was suicidal. And people were killing themselves, either by sleeping in the bed without food, either by isolating themselves from the community. But sometimes people could just get poison and poison themselves so that they die off. So it was too bad and so threatening to see someone having HIV in a family. Even family members would isolate. I remember one of my sisters, when she lost her husband, and they went for a funeral, and the home had to buy. Sisters from Kampala went with cups to use during his funeral. And they could store them in a different place because they would not use it with anybody, especially this family. So they had a separate bucket where they keep the cups for this family, where they would pick them from the children. One person having HIV in a family meant the whole family having it. So they would isolate everybody and say, you and your children, please, can you pick these cups and plates that we'll be using during this time?
Yeah.
There's no information. People are sounding drums. There is a problem here, when they want to talk about it. Yes. So it was really terrific.
And then you remember the time of Chisipi?
It was quite threatening because people could get different signs, people could get different opportunistic infections, but even the treatment was not available. If the treatment was available, it was costly for people to get it. It was not decentralized. People had to walk different routes to get the medication, and it was quite far away from where they live. Different from today. Today, LUCOHECO runs a CDDP, Community Dropping Center, for AIC, where people can come anytime they want. But even at the clinic, I remember when we went with James to the hospital, I'll not mention, and this is when the nurses are getting tired of these people, because like when you're so sick with AIDS now, They will not spend enough time with you. This is when he go when he has a stomach. And the nurse gives us. He used to have rashes, so he used to take magnesium. And this time when we go, when he's presenting with a rash, a nurse gives him medication. I had got to get a car so that we can go home by the time he goes to the pharmacy. So when the nurse gave him the treatment, he thought this is magnesium, and it was calamine. And I was working. I had to work because every time we have to go to hospital and we need money.
Yes.
So I could leave the children with him and go to work. And I come back when he's complaining severe about the stomach. I was like, what's the problem? He shows me the medicine that he took, and it was calamine. And this must have speeded because this is the time when he passed on. I think 3 months later he passed on. I was complaining. I was like, the nurse just dropped the medicine and said, this is your medicine, without explaining what exactly he's going to use this for. And because he was taking magnesium, he thought this was magnesium. I took it. So there was a lot of stigma from the institutions where I worked from. I lost my job in 2000. And because just losing a husband at that young age, whether they tested you or not, because you have been telling them we are in and out of hospital. People just suspected. Even at that time, many people did not have HIV, died of any other ailments, but employers would think she's contagious to stay with us, and then we'll have to terminate her employment. So there were a lot of things, social issues, emotional issues, but also cultural norms were to some extent affecting people, even to feel they don't belong to this society.
I can't imagine. So would you say that your personal ordeal, but also the fact that even from before you had the social worker in you, would you say that LUCOHECO grew from these personal experiences, that was also out of you being a caretaker or even caring for other people within your community? What did this experience do for you? And looking back now, 20 years later, what would you gladly say that the growth has been for LUCOHECO?
Yeah, oftentimes amidst challenges, there are so many opportunities that I may pick from there. When I was doing a research this year with Makerere School of Public Health, and we had to interviewing people living with HIV on medication and the integration system. There was that question where they were asking, do you think there is anything good with you being HIV positive and accessing such treatment? Do you see any opportunities? Some people could tell, but others would say, no, I don't see anything. But I could bring an example. For example, I got disabled about 10 years ago. Take me to the airport today, whatever airport you take me to, I get the support. People run very fast to me and say, Madam, where are you going? Which flight are you on? They'll just push me. I'll be the first to get into the plane. So much as we get through these challenges, there are some good things that come with them.
Yes.
As I told you, I care for my siblings who are sick. From home to hospitals, though they died in my hands. Taking care of my husband when he was sick. As a young woman at 32 years, with the orphans that I was taking care of, and my own, it was a great experience. In how to handle people who are affected or infected with HIV without discrimination. I remember when I went to the World Bank spring meetings, where Canon Albert Ogo invited me to speak about sexual orientation. Those harsh moments when you meet these religious leaders in these spaces, and someone is asking you, a Catholic, how would you, and why would you talk about LGBTQ accessing services? My only concern is one. It has nothing to do with my orientation, my sexuality, my religion, when I talk about HIV.
Yes.
It is basically providing a service to someone who needs it. Because of the experience that I went through, if I do not find people in the community to lean it to, I'd die.
Yes.
If my church was not there for me when I'm being stigmatized as a cause of the problem in the family, if my family or children were not there for me, I would have died. So when someone has an issue, I don't want to look at you and say, Lungujja, you are brown or whatever. It's the issue that connects me with you that I address. So the experiences that I went through as a young girl, as a young woman, taught me to be tolerant, taught me to be understanding, empathetic, and pathetic. Because I myself was torn into pieces of so many things that scratched my body as I was growing up. I might say even at 32 when I lost my husband, I lost hope. This is a time when you'll never get married again. You may not even get love. Since that time, I could not even think of getting another man to marry. This is what this young man, young woman, young person I'm talking to today needs, might be going through. And I have to stand up and say, you have to take courage because you can be much more important and God can use you in a different way despite what you went through. So these are factors that forced me to start Lungujja Community Healthcare Organization. That life was not lost at the time I tested positive, neither when I lost my husband at 32 years. I saw communities coming to me, old women, old men, coming to counsel me and saying, you will live. We have lived in widowhood, you can make it. I was getting my treatment from Kamocha Christian Caring Community, and I saw a holistic approach where they put you on treatment, they think about school fees for your children, they think about food, and this is what I wanted to replicate in Lungujja Division.
Yes, yes.
And I knew Maxensia went to school and has some knowledge, can read and write, but there is that woman who cannot read the law, cannot understand anything about HIV, cannot understand anything about law, where to go to have justice, but I needed help.
Yeah.
And this is how it was out of personal experience, lived experience, that I thought I needed to give back to those people who are going through what I went through so that they can better their lives, but also be strong, irrespective of being positive, but they could be strong and live to support their families. So this is where I grew the dream from, to start an initiative that has provided treatment, care, and support, as you mentioned it, to the people of Lungujja. And as we know, HIV is a developmental issue. You handle ARVs, tomorrow this person dies off. How about the children who are left in this small plot? You have to look for justice for these people so that they're not chased away. How about the widow who is forced out of this marital house by their family to go where? Exactly. So you have to protect the rights. But sustainability comes when you empower the family not to be dependent on you. Because you do not provide food every day. This is how we go into smart agriculture, through backyard farming. This is how we do climate change, because we find our places flooded in Kosovo, and then we have to help people to teach them to be masters of their own destinies.
Indeed.
Sure.
I'm so grateful that you turned the pain, the loss, and even the support around you, and you decided that Lungujja Division needed, you saw a need and you filled that gap. And I think for me, that's the representation of turning pain into purpose. And I'm very, very grateful to hear that. Now, earlier on, you make mention of a fact that you were not born disabled. And this happened, you said 10 years ago?
Yes.
Is this something you are open to talking about?
Of course, of course. Because some of the viewers would be knowing me a little more.
Yes.
That I was even a counselor and speaker at Lungujja Division. I stood in 2000 and overwhelmingly was elected as a deputy speaker in Lungujja Division Council. 2006, I wanted to go back to have my voice on the table where things are done to the people by standing as a councillor. Lost 5, I lost it. 2011, I came back and contested for Member of Parliament, because when I look at our legislators, I don't know what exactly they're doing. A person like Maxensia, I have never interfaced with a Member of Parliament representing persons with disability.
Mm-hmm.
When he picked me up to come and speak to our viewers, his country, I will never pick. I don't think there are those people who can give some support, social support, even when they speak to others.
Yes.
I've not interfaced that. So I even contested in 2011 to go to Parliament so that I would still lobby for my people, but I failed. So as I mentioned, I was into so many things. I was serving Buganda Kingdom, and when you find me there, I think I'm a staff. I was doing this community work. Every time you find me there, I think I'm for activism throughout. I was into church, so many things. The bad thing that I did was not caring for myself. Like when I got so strong, adhering to my treatment, the thyroid is suppressed. I was doing a lot of advocacy. I was on and off planes, going to speak to people like what we are doing today.
Yes.
I had sponsors calling me to the White House to speak when President Obama wanted to reduce money for PEPFAR to 50%. I was there sponsored by my sister Asia Lasso. So many places. I could not rest enough. I could not eat on time. Yet I'm on strong medication.
Strong medication, yes.
So this one, slowly by slowly, started affecting. The medication that I was on affected my bones, and the calcium was reduced. It's not because I fell on a border in 2015 that caused this. There was an underlying problem that was geared up by falling on a border. So later on in 2016, I started limping, a lot of pain in the back, holding a crutch. I went to almost every hospital in this town, Independent, Kampala, Novik. Doctors could not diagnose my problem until in November, I think, 2016, my sister, now the ex-IGG, Honorable Betty Kamya, said, Maxensia has impacted lives in this community. We can't leave her to die. Let us fundraise to take her to India. So I was flown to India in November, spending there 3 weeks, when they couldn't still not diagnose my problem until when I did a CT scan and they said, I have osteoporosis.
Osteoporosis, yes.
And they discharged me. I remember I could not sit, I could not support myself, I could not do anything, and the doctors were like, go back home with a handful of medicine, but make sure you change your diet, and the doctor at your hospital change the treatment. Unfortunately, when I came back to work, it could not happen for 3 years. I wouldn't have fractured. But 3 years later, I took the doctor's advice. I did everything, but I could release the calcium through urine. And my bones were quite weak, could easily break. That's how they broke when I tried to stand up one time. So I fractured, and this is how I ended up into a wheelchair in 2017. Since 2016 November, I could not walk until today.
What has that experience been like, you navigating the work that you do, the reality of living with HIV and AIDS, but also now adding a disability? Remember last year, actually, we reconnected and I was giving you a layout. I think for me, my experience showed me that disability is something that can happen to practically everyone.
Everybody.
Because I spent a whole year, if you have been watching, I spent a whole year in a wheelchair, crutches. And so I remember we're having that conversation. So you are here at that intersection of someone that is a social worker doing activism work, but now having to navigate another layer that is disability. What has that experience taught you so far?
Wow. experiences sometimes teach us a lot of things. But this disability thing, at first it tortured me so much. At that time, LUCOHECO was growing. I would say it was at set of stage. And a sole support of this organization as a breadwinner in the home. This is when you have to sleep in the bed. With no work done, you can't do it, no proposal, you can't do anything. At first I worried so much about sleeping in this bed. But one thing I must say, I never thought of dying. And another thing I would like to say is, I consistently took my medicine because when I got another comorbidity, I knew life can be so challenging. And at that time, I was thinking about getting cancer. I was like, no, the life is at stake. What I did was commit my whole self to God. That was the first thing when I came back from India. Because I went to India thinking I would come back walking. I came back when everybody on the plane would say, Madam, where can we touch? How can we help you? Because wherever I touched me, there was pain. And everybody was asking, I go to hospital. I could say, I'm coming back from hospital. Nobody could believe. So at one moment, I thought, now I think I'll never walk again. Maybe I'll never get out of this bed. Maybe I'll be in pain forever. And this was a double pain now, a double-edged sword. HIV on the other side. Now disability, and disability is okay when it is not painful. I lived the most painful life for 3 years, 2017 to 2019, the most painful time. And everybody would just look at me and say, she's going. So one thing, I did not give up. I said I'll not die. I could talk to God and say, forgive me for anything, but help me. Because there are people you assigned to me to help. Not only my family, but those people in the community. Because I saw the impact of LUCOHECO in that community. That among the people to put on treatment in 2005, maybe 5% died. And today if you come to Lungujja and look at those people, they have children, they have grandchildren, they're living positive. So I could talk to God and say, do you think these people don't need me anymore? Do you mean my voice is not needed at this time? I think you still need me to speak, to serve your people. So I pleaded to God and said, please give me a second chance. That was a time when we had a lot of meetings. I'm in America, wherever, to meet donors. I could not go. So it was so traumatizing, but I could not put my thought on what I'm missing, but I put my thought on improving my life. Because I know all the challenges I've faced in life, if they come back to me, I may be stressed and depressed and die. So I did not give up. The biggest contribution in my life was not my family or me. At least they had grown somehow, though they were all in university, but it was basically about that woman, that young girl in the community who was suffering, that God sent me to help. So this is my plea over the years until I saw God lifting me up. Until the time when I stood, I sat up and everybody was surprised because I lay in bed straight for 3 years.
3 years.
Until I started picking a cup and could feed myself. And I saw life improving. And since that time, my life never went back to the pain, to being that paralyzed person who cannot do anything. So there are so many challenges, but I know God does things for a reason. That I would add disability to my advocacy. Indeed, over the years, I was not in too deep discussions and advocacy for persons with disabilities. So by being who I am today, it put me into serious advocacy for persons with disability. I may not even talk about HIV today so much, but I can talk about persons with disability. And indeed, those who live with different comorbidities.
Yes.
So this is how my advocacy scope extended and grew bigger beyond what we were doing previously, because those people with disability are facing quite a lot of challenges.
I mean, that now I can't imagine what it's like for someone to live with HIV and AIDS, other comorbidities, and then be disabled.
I did a research with the TASO in 2022 in 11 sub-regions of this country.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, the challenges. That stigma we started talking about still exists among persons with disability. You see these girls with epilepsy and then they have HIV and families are looking at them as curses. There are those myths, there are those stereotypes among persons with disability. And in this country, we are not a target. We are not a target in terms of support. We are not a target in terms of awareness or education or whatever. So families look at these people as a curse.
Yes.
Especially people who were born disabled. So I felt a very heavy. I carried a very heavy heart coming out of this training in 11 sub-regions of this country with regard to persons with disability, especially those living with HIV. The way they are harassed, the way they are pushed out, the way they are discriminated, they cannot share anything in a family, even when they are sharing land or whatever. They say, and you got to go because it's they are dropped out of school for others to go. We should not waste our time paying your school.
So for most of them, their fate is quote unquote already decided.
A lady in Barara told us she stopped in P4, and the family said, and for you, we don't need to spend money on this. But the rest of her siblings later died, and she's the one she's supporting them. Someone said when the census, that previous census, not this one, came, the father was asked, how many children do you have? I have 7 with a dead body. You know, the myth and stereotypes that goes around persons with disability is really challenging, and sometimes it is not addressed.
Now, with the work that you do, given the recent aid cuts and the different world trends and how they are affecting different programs, what has that experience been like for you, especially as someone that is at that space where you're not just advocating for people living with HIV, but also people living with disabilities? Can you just help us paint a picture of what that reality looks like now and what support would look like?
Yeah, because it's unfortunate that we have levels of leadership in this country, from LC1 that are going to be elected now up to Parliament. And oftentimes I wonder, where do our representatives derive their issues to discuss or deliberate upon their councils in Parliament? Because the reality on the ground is what I have explained. And we have not seen our leaders fighting to make sure that families, communities can sustain themselves. They're thinking about tokenism and handouts.
Yes.
So they come during campaigns and give this disability group a big saucepan that they can let out to get some money. And that's
it.
A big saucepan or a tent you give to us to earn income cannot address the health issues that you have. And as you come to us as a group and give us these tents and whatever, and saucepans and whatever, the money which will come out of here will be shared amongst the group. It is basically empowering an individual or the community to do her or his own work. But the biggest challenge, it has been the civil society, NGOs and CBOs doing this dark work in the community. However, our representatives think we are challenging government. We are getting money from outside
foreign agents
to challenge this government, forgetting that we are equal partners and have shared this big burden of helping communities to be better. Everybody in this community, in this country knows it is the faith-based organization, it is the NGOs, the CBOs that does the dog work to help communities, because we are centrally there. We are doing community monitoring and we know what happens in the community. That is what I started with. Even my mayor in Rubagoni campaign, if you cannot identify a person like Maxensia to come to the budget conference, to come to these meetings, or even do a research to find out how much contribution has this woman done this community. If you don't do that, I wonder how our government plan for us. Because they don't come to us. We have been to Parliament several times under the climate change loss and damage program. And the members of Parliament will tell us, but we know. We hear so many people doing this. We see so many organizations doing this, but we don't know the magnitude of work that you are giving. There is no way you can plan for a country when you don't know the issues of the people, when you don't know the demographics, when you don't know the realities on the ground. So I've seen that a challenge. But instead, people can just go and say, these civil society organizations are doing their own things. They're using money to buy cars. We were in Parliament talking about the sovereignty law.
Yes.
And one member of Parliament said, civil society don't tell us anything. Because for us, the money we get is basically to buy those cars and build big houses, which is not true. So it is unfortunate that government, legislators and leaders doesn't encounter with us to understand the realities, the impact, and the challenges we are going through. This is how they have seen us as competitors, as sabotagers, than seeing us as equal partners, as people who are implementing and supplementing government programs. So that is a very big challenge because we are burning out. The outcome of that, government of Uganda cannot consolidate the past efforts of fighting HIV. As we move through the 2030, 95, we may lose it. Because these statistics that we are saying might not be true. Because what is happening on the ground, people have seen us as Maxensia, and they have met us and made love with us. My viral load is suppressed, but there are so many people whose viral load is not suppressed, they can still infect. Because people no longer fear HIV, because there is medication, they'll tell you, oh, go, get medication. But not everybody on medication is suppressed. You can still go with this person and get infected. So we are going to lose this battle because we have failed to do the public-private partnership. Government come to civil society purposely to engage us, to support us, to allocate resources to us to fight the problems that we have. But they have looked at us as people who are fighting. So I'm scared we may not achieve the targets of 2030 because HIV is now among our young people. Transactional sex is happening every day. So I wonder, even people who kidnap women, first rape them. So how many partners does this person have? Where do they go to test? Okay, talk about the persons with disabilities along the streets of Kampala. Lord, you can tell me if you have ever seen an LUCOHECO van stopping by and testing these people. So when are they tested? And men are having children with them. You find a woman crawling with so many children. And these are abled men sleeping with them. Now, where do they go to ease themselves? Where are those toilets for persons with disability in Kampala? Could you show me one? Now today you say men who have sex with men, the LGBTQ, we cross them out with a law. Deep in your head, you know, these are categories of persons who have the highest prevalence of HIV. I took these people to the late Dr. Cyprian Kizito Lwanga when he said, Maxensia, are you sure you're doing advocacy for these people? I said, it is basically service delivery. Bring them to me. And he gathered a crowd of about 600 leaders of the church in 2013. They gave their testimonies and they said, you men who are seated here, especially the trans and the sex workers, said, you buy us and you have HIV. So today when you bring a law to lock them out, are you striving to make sure that you end AIDS by 2030? Or you're escalating the situation? If today you decide to say integration, which is very okay, government can integrate these services. I did the research with Makerere University and they said, we are going to kill ourselves. We cannot go to a public hospital and start talking about how I need lubricants when everybody is seeing. Did you consult them before you brought this policy? So not consulting us when government is developing laws, when government is barring us from receiving resources, when government is even barring us from getting support from abroad. I must tell you, Mulungi, I've given wheelchairs to people in this Kampala and Uganda. I don't know how many numbers since I got disabled. I've never seen a government entity saying, Maxensia, bring 5 people to get a wheelchair. So when you are closing all these avenues, our supporters will get scared and will pull out when you have no alternative.
Those are very, very deep challenges, but also the reality of the fact that legislation does not take away the issues, especially that affect a normal Ugandan. And we could be here the whole day, Maxensia, you and I, we could be here. But I also want you to, you had briefly touched a bit on accessibility. It's very unfortunate that it took my experience with my knee to realize how deeply inaccessible Kampala is. What message would you have for someone watching, especially with the reality that today it could be a border, it could, because osteoporosis is also something that people living with endometriosis can get. I know of a few endo warriors that because of medication ended up getting osteoporosis, but also the reality that disability can happen to anyone.
All candidates.
Exactly, we are all candidates. So speak into the issue of real inclusion and accessibility when it comes to people living with disabilities in this country.
Yeah, speaking to that, I think we need to stop the stereotypes. Like I said, everybody is a candidate of either being HIV positive, by the way.
Yes, true.
Disability. For those who saw me putting on high heels and walking, here I am in a wheelchair. And every day accidents are happening. And people's legs and whatever, they are maimed.
Yes.
Okay? So it is possible. We should not think we are not concerned. When a neighbor's child goes hungry, don't just feel you are not concerned. After all, the father did not work so much to make sure the family has food. No. Circumstances change. I said I'm a born of a member of LUCOHECO or Mubaka. That means an MOP. He died so many years ago.
Yes.
And here I am. I have to strive to live. Things change. Even people swinging in their chairs in a SC, things may change, may turn around us. So just think, this is not my concern. Where there are issues of death, illness, and disasters in our communities, communities will never grow. It takes a whole community to work together to develop. But when you think you have this big house in this community, storied building where there are no trees, the storm may come and break it down, and then will come back to us who have these hearts in this community. So our issues, people's issues must be our issues, and especially to the legislators. I wonder what people legislate in Parliament. Think about 315 million to be given to one person who's coming from a constituency like Karamoja. I was watching a video from my sister in Karamoja, a partner organization, how people have been affected by climate change. And as I watched it, there was news on LUCOHECO about how people are dying of hunger. I mean, people are dying of hunger in Karamoja, and we are very excited about the 300 million we are getting into our camps for the Land Cruisers, which we are not even going to buy, because members of Parliament will buy a car of 50,000 or 100,000. And then where does the 200 go? So we should learn to care for others. We should learn to be our community keepers. It doesn't, I mean, one priest said, would you be happy to kneel down every day and pray and say, God, I pray that in this community I'm the only one who is rich. In this family, I am not the only one who is rich and the rest be poor. How does that benefit you when you get up in the morning and they say, omugagga atuwe ku tractor ye, yetwala ono yafudde. Omugagga atuwe ku tractor ye, atuwe. I mean, it's better to fight to keep the peace and security and the resources that we have than fighting to get them. Because we have resources in this country.
Yes, we do.
Why would we increase budgets and budgets and budgets when we cannot think about anything meaningful to impact lives? So it is basically impact. You're a member of parliament. When you look into your constituency, you have represented for 3 terms. What impact have you caused? What voice have you raised to make sure that lives have changed? So when we think about the accessibility of persons with disability, who many people are abandoning, many are saying, and they are running away from here. So could running away from the problems be the issue or the alternative to solve them? No. So I want to start with Kampala. To talk, to cry, to shout, to make noise to our members of parliament. Have you ever thought about women and men and children with disabilities on the roadside? How they are cared for? How do they get their basic services? We can pick them up and drop them somewhere else. Do you think that problem will be solved? Where are our hearts? I mean, where do we, when we sleep, how do we think about this country where we have a very big percentage of people who are not catered for, So accessibility is very important. When you go to hospitals, oh my goodness, and then you have to climb up there. Can you think about modifying the infrastructure that we have? If we cannot have so many buses like those ones I see in developed countries for persons with disabilities to go and move to wherever they want, provide an alternative. Now I want to speak to the integration that has come. And if government is calling all the services from the community back to the center, we have been talking about decongesting health centers. With the integration, we are still congesting them. Can we think about alternatives within the health centers where at least persons with different abilities can easily access services than sitting back and say, I'll just die in my home. I'll never go back. I'll never do this. And you know what people are doing now? Persons with disabilities, some of who I've talked to, when they give medication for 6 months, I'll take it sparingly.
So that I don't have to go back immediately.
So if they give me for 3 months, I'll take it for 6 months. And there are no mechanisms finding out, why didn't you come for your appointment? There are so many who are lost to find. But also advanced HIV diseases are now increasing because non-adherence to treatment is causing all these problems. Because they don't have food, they don't have transport. So it is better to plan for people to die in dignity, to live or die in dignity, but not adding on the disability, the HIV, the diabetes and whatever, and you die miserably. That is very, very challenging and sad.
So as we almost come to a close, I want you to tell us about the fundraiser. About a month ago, I was at a training and I learned that Nafofanu is currently carrying out a fundraiser. Could you just briefly tell us about it and how whoever is watching can be of help?
At least for viewers, many of you know that Nafofanu started a long journey to make sure that it brings persons living with HIV together as a collective voice. And it has put us together across the country. There are different networks within the country. And I want to thank Advocacy Commission that it hosted us in some place in Lungujja, Lungujja, for a longer time until the building was so dilapidated that we could not stay there. And up to now, Advocacy Commission chose to host us, and that is not sustainable. For those who may not know what Nafofanu stands for, it is National Network of persons living with HIV and AIDS in Uganda. So It is across the country, and it has a lot of network members and individuals who subscribe to it. And currently, I'm the current treasurer to the board of NAFUPAN. So we are calling upon well-wishers to help us have a home. You know what having a home means? You can do anything into your home. You can decide to sleep there. You can decide to host some people who are very desperate. You can do anything. But currently, like I said, Uganda AIDS Commission hosted us until we get this work. We are desperately looking for money so that we can either buy or construct our home, where we can have our offices, where we can have training centers, where we can have leisure centers, where we can have anything. It is a decent home that you're looking forward to, because we have a very big network of so many hundreds of thousands of members. So we are looking forward to every well-wisher to give us any amount of money matters, whether it is 1,000 shillings, whether it is 1,000,000 shillings. It's really most welcome. Please help us to have a home so that we can sustain our advocacy. If we have a place where we can have media, where we can several meetings, awareness campaigns, we can serve this country better as persons who have lived over years with HIV and AIDS, to support others to come out, also be as strong as we are, so that they can sustain their homes, families, and networks. The Executive Director, Flavia Chomokama, sits at the AIDS Commission. Through her, we can get a lot of support, and you can reach out to us or to her or to AIDS Commission. You can still receive your commitments and pledges. Yeah.
To a young person watching this and listening to your life story, what word of encouragement would you leave with them? Seeing as there's a joke going around that the unprecedented times have refused to become precedented, who might feel like life has thrown rocks at them. They, lately mental health conversations are on the rise, but you are someone that has you've weathered so many storms, and here you are to even share your story with us. What would you tell that young person, or even anyone out there watching that is facing challenges, that they can take as lessons from your life story?
Sure. Thank you so much. Starting with the younger people, I had a thinking, even me, when I was growing up, I thought older persons were born when they were older. And it is only the children that I could see delivered and they are young that were born when they are young. That's what we used to think. All of us were young at one moment. If you listen to my story, I've gone through storms. I might not have spoken about so many things that I've gone through, but at least I've spoken about some. And here I am with a smile on my face. It's not because everything is okay. It's not because I'm happy about what I've gone through, but because I'm alive. A friend was telling me, you see, Maxensia, when I see you like this, you used to walk, you used to be strong. But look at you, I feel pity. And I was like, but I'm living. I'm still alive. So many people have lost lives between the time I got into this wheelchair, the time I got bedridden, until now. But I'm here. There is nobody who can define your destination. It's you. So whatever path you choose, it's upon you. Social malaise, depression, taking alcohol, having many partners, it's your choice. But sometimes it is not a right choice. It may drag you into more problems. And we must be very cautious when we are having challenges, not rush into making decisions, because sometimes those decisions can ruin our lives forever. It is better to sit and sieve, even through your community, groups and peer groups, to think, I heard my friends saying this. I think I should try it. Please sieve whatever information you get, but strive to live. You can make it. Life doesn't, my life and experiences, disability and HIV did not define me. I can't allow my situations to define me. I have a destiny. And I sleep every day and think I must achieve this, irrespective of what I've gone through. So to our children, our young people who are watching, you can maneuver through these challenges. I know many of you don't have where to sleep. Many of you have been abandoned, called names, but this is not what you are. You are that person, that young man, that young woman, that good person who God created in his own image. So amidst the challenges you are going through, don't rush to make decisions. Think twice before you decide. But at least you choose right friends, choose right options. You may not know whether it is right or good or bad, but at least as you decide to think that I should do this tomorrow, sleep twice and think, is it the right way? Anyway, what has helped me in this country, in this life, in my whatever I have done, I ask God before I act. So have few friends who you trust, and you know these are friends who are genuinely telling me what to do. Not every friend is a friend. Someone would be dragging you into something else, which is not the right decision. So the choice is at your hand to choose how you can maneuver. But situations don't last forever. Situations can change and things can be better. This tide will come and we shall overcome.
Indeed.
So it is not over until you fight forever and overcome.
Thank you so much, Maxensia, for making time and for the amazing work that you're doing. Please send our regards to the people in Rubaga Division and LUCOHECO. We are really grateful to have someone like you sharing with us.
I wanted to say something that I did not say. For people who are living with HIV, please take your medicine religiously. I was tested in 1998. My viral load was suppressed, I think in 2000 until now. Even when I got so sick, I could take my medicine. So those medicine holidays, ruin our lives. Take your medicine every day on time to avoid advanced diseases, but avoiding also destroying your lives. If I had not taken medicine
and taken
ARVs, with the pain I went through, the challenges, I would have done. So take your medicine and listen to your doctors. Don't do self-medication.
And also, please, for the rest of us, go and have your status known. When you find out that you have HIV, please don't hide it from your partners or don't spread it. I mean, Maxensia is evidence that you can actually live positively, you can have an impact on your community, and there is life beyond. We are no longer in 1998 where, you know, it's a death sentence. Science has advanced, and she is a beacon for you to remember that there is life even after you've tested positively. Thank you so much for catching this episode. In case this stood out for you, please do let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow, and share this conversation to someone who might need it. Maxensia, once again, thank you so much for making time, and all the best with the work that you're doing.
Thank you so much for hosting me. Our viewers, thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.